Hi Facebook, it's me, Charmaine. How you doing? Oh, I hope you're having a really nice Sunday. What's the time? I actually didn't even check the time. Okay, it's 5 to 4. So I'm guessing some of you are having a little bit of play or doing something fun, getting ready for lunch. Well, not lunch. Lunch. I haven't had lunch. I've only just had breakfast. I'm a little bit tired. I did have a night out last night with a friend of mine. Good night, but I'm tired today, I'm not gonna lie. But I did want to come live just this afternoon and share some information with you about the power of using story and stories to help a toddler or a preschooler who is finding switching off at night time and falling asleep a challenge. I often find sometimes talking with mums who have toddlers who are struggling, who might still need nap times or who are really finding it hard to fall asleep at bedtime in the evenings. Sometimes it could take a couple of hours and there's some real toing and froing. And I often find talking to some of these mums that, hi Evie, I often find that talking to some of these mums, it's a lot of these quite intelligent, sometimes quite sensitive little ones who are finding it hard to switch off, but often do need sleep and are really finding it hard to switch off from what's going on around them and focus on falling asleep. And I often find it's these quite intelligent, smart, intellectual ones who tend to have a quieter energy. They can be quite rough and rambunctious, and don't get me wrong, but they are often quite intellectual. You'll often see them when they're playing. They can often be quite happy to play isolated and by themselves. And you can often see the cogs working when they're playing. They'll be doing things and experimenting and trying to figure things out. And I often find it's those little ones, those little girls and boys that can have a really hard time falling asleep at nap times and bedtimes. And I've been doing a lot of studying lately on holistic sleep coaching. I don't know if some of you know this or not. I have worked for a number of years doing night work. I've been doing night work for 18 years. I've worked as an early years educator for over 20 years. So I know a lot about early years, little ones from working with them, not just overnight but during the day. And I often find that a lot of what I learned about sleep was from observing little ones during the day, how they think, how they interact, how they piece the world around them to make sense to them, and how they all play and interact with things, and also how they relax and switch off. One thing I definitely learned with little ones is that they need regularity and they need consistency and they need their routine. They need to know what's happening now and they need to know what's happening next. I'm going off onto a tangent, but these are the things that I have learned about little ones. When you do things that they are not ready for or aren't able to predict, even the little ones who are, really cool to go with the flow, it can really throw them. And with toddlers, like I said, there's so much learning and development going on. The things that they do every day take on new meanings for them every day. And so throwing lots of change into the equation can be very unnerving for them. So helping them to switch off when it's time for them to relax can be quite difficult. But I have had this book in my house for a while now. Now, I don't know if that's going to show the right way around on Facebook. It's showing awkward now. Maybe if I fiddle with the settings, I might be able to get to show it the right way around. Let me see. Let me play around. I think I've done it. So yeah, this book here, it's called A Rabbit Who Wants to Fall Asleep. This book, I've only used it. I've had it in my house for about 2 years. As you can see, it's not very well used. I've only used it twice with my niece to help her to fall asleep. And when you look at it, it's quite a text-rich book. Reading this book, I just read it now as if I was reading it to a little one at a time when I want them to go to sleep. And it took me about 15 minutes. It's a very text-rich book. What I do like about this book is that if you do have little ones who have a hard time focusing or relaxing or switching off, this book is good in that a lot of the text is encouraging them to think about relaxing and falling asleep and being tired. Because I know a lot of mums are saying to me, I'm with my little one, I'm helping them to fall asleep, I'm with them, I know they're tired, sleep isn't happening, what's going on? And a lot of the time it's just a thing where if we can relax them and focus them enough and keep them calm long enough for them to fall asleep, then they usually do. And that applies with the babies. But when you've got toddlers who are, I don't want to say high functioning because all kids are high functioning, but toddlers who are very, very internal. When you are out and about and you're in busy environment, you can see your little ones sitting back and observing and watching what's going on before they dive in. So you know they're really sitting and thinking about what's happening and what's going on. I often find more spirited ones who will just dive into a situation. They often find it a lot easier to switch off because once they relax for like more than 2 or 3 minutes, they fall asleep. But little ones who are observant and who are taking in their surroundings and what's going on, you'll notice they do this all the time, whether it's busy, whether it's quiet. This book is really, really going to be useful for you. This is also going to be really useful at nap times as well, with those little spirited ones who do find it hard to sit still, but who will like a story because it's so text rich and the text is so... I'll read the first page and you'll understand what I'm talking about. It's read in present tense and it encourages you to get the little one involved in thinking about relaxing and falling asleep. So I'm going to read the first page because, like I said, this is text rich. But if you have a toddler or a preschooler who is really fighting nap times, this is really useful. And there's another useful tool I'm going to share after I've read this first page. So I'm not even going to read the first page. I'm going to read the first 2 paragraphs. There's a lot to read. So it says, I'm going to tell you a story that can make you feel very sleepy. Now, some people can fall asleep straight away, while others wait a little while until they drift off to sleep. Yawn. So this is where it's in captions and it's telling you to yawn. Now, just getting your kid to do that is going to encourage them to feel sleepy. It's like role play while they're lying down and they're relaxing. This is really good stuff. And then you call their name. So I'm just going to use my niece's name. So, yawn. Esme, I'm wondering just when will be the best time for you to go to sleep, now or before the story ends? I know. So like I said, if you're watching this, if you just joined the broadcast, I'm so happy that you're here. If you have a little one, a preschooler or a toddler who is really struggling with falling asleep, either at nap times or at bedtimes, and you're doing a bedtime routine, you're doing everything right, and then as soon as it's time for them to fall asleep, like an hour later, they're just still lying there, this book is going to be really useful. And then there's another story that I'm going to share with you as well that you can create of your own. So like I said, the story starts. Once upon a time, there was a little rabbit called Roger who really wanted to fall asleep and could not right now. Roger the rabbit was just your age. Not older, not younger, exactly as old as you are. He enjoyed doing all the things you like doing, to play and have fun, and he would rather stay up and play all evening instead of sleeping now. Like I said, this book is text rich, but the way how the book reads, it basically encourages your little one to think about all of the things that are important when it comes to falling asleep. So the story leads where it encourages you to go to Uncle Yawn, but there's so much text that, like I said, I read this to my niece Esme. She's quite spirited and high energetic, and usually after like 5 or 10 minutes of her being chilled, she'll fall asleep. I read 2 pages, she was out like a light. I don't know how this story ends until just now because I've never got there. But it basically encourages your little one to think about sleep and think slower. And as you read the book, you almost feel sleepy. It's really good. Now, maybe I might feel that way because I had a night out last night and I'm a little bit tired anyway. Who knows? But this book would be really useful if you have a little one who you know is thinking all the time, who cannot switch off and focus. So if you can get them to focus on the words that you're saying and get them to use their imaginations, this will help them to switch off. And this is the thing we forget about our kids. Their imaginations are so vivid. This is the beautiful thing about our little ones. Their imaginations are vivid, and wherein that their imaginations can frighten them sometimes. So sometimes they'll be like worried about monsters and things that don't exist, and we know that. Their imaginations are so vivid that those things feel real to them. But if you're reading stories like this that encourage them to think about sleeping, instead of thinking about other things, if they're relaxed and they're tired, and then you're telling them there's a rabbit who's just like you who can't sleep either, and you're going on a journey through a forest to go and see Uncle Yawn, who tells you that you need to walk really slowly, and it encourages you to breathe deeply. If your child is not falling asleep by the end of this book, then you need to get in touch with me because there are other things that are going on that are getting in the way, other than just perhaps not being tired and finding it hard to switch off. But this book is really good. And I only actually had a proper look at it just now, and it's written by a psychologist. Genius. Like I said, this book, I've had it in my house for ages. I've read it to my niece twice, never finished it. But I read it today and I was like, this book will definitely work. So if you have a little one who is highly intelligent, very observant, a little one who's very, very hard to relax and switch off, this book would be really good. This would also be really good as well at nap times as well. I know some mums are messaging me and saying, right, I've got a 2.5-year-old, they need to nap, and I need to whenever I mention the word nap, they freak out. So I often say to them, don't talk to them about naps. Just say, me and you are going to sit down and we're going to have a rest, and we're going to read a story, and we're going to relax. And a lot of the time when you do that and sit down with them and just reframe the word sleep to relax and chill them out long enough, sleep eventually happens. If you're finding you're doing this and it's not happening, get this book. Because I'm telling you, if you read this book to them, it gets them to think about relaxing and falling asleep and slowing down and feeling tired and feeling heavy and feeling relaxed and closing their eyes. All the things you want them to do. And if you're reading it with them and you're sitting there with them and you're using a very slow and deliberate voice, they're going to fall asleep. Another method or a tip that is really, really useful is creating a personal book for your little one that you don't read at bedtime, but you read it before you're going to do bedtime. So this is really good if you've got a little one who, as soon as you start doing the bedtime routine, he starts kicking off or she starts having a tantrum, they don't want to brush their teeth, they don't want to get in the bath, they don't want to put their pajamas on. This creating a personal story for them, it doesn't need to be difficult. All you can do is get like 5 or 6 pieces of card, take a photo for each step of their bedtime story. So this is what you're going to do. The first step is like, here I am reading my bedtime story. That's page 1. The second photo is me and mummy are setting my bath. So you've got a photo of you and mummy running the bath, and then another photo of him, your little boy or a little girl in the bath, and they're enjoying it. That's the second page. The third page is I'm now brushing my teeth. The next page is whatever the stages of your bedtime story are, include them 1 picture per page. And you've got to take a picture of your little one. We all have smartphones. And if you have an app, if you're worried about, oh my God, the money, it doesn't need to cost anything. You can just literally get a piece of A4 paper, use your smartphone and take a picture. I have an app where you can get prints of your photos for free. All you got to do is pay for postage, which is what, $2.99. Message me, I will send you the link to the app, and you can use it to get your photos and print photos. So you take a photo for each stage of your bedtime story, of your bedtime process. So bath, toothbrushing, massage, milk, PJs. Then you take a photo of your little one in bed. They don't have to be asleep, but they're in bed and they might be having a story, and you sitting next to them if you want to, if that's what makes them happy. Then the last photo in the book has to be a picture of them smiling. Now, it doesn't necessarily need to be in the morning, but the last picture of that personal story is of your little one smiling and happy, with the caption underneath, I'm so happy and smiling, I've had a good night of sleep. Now, if you read that every night before you start your bedtime routine with your little one, you say, right, we're going to do the bedtime routine now. But before we do that, let's get our little book out and we're going to read about everything that we're going to do. Because that book is about them, it makes it personal to them, and it gives them a visual picture of everything they need to do before they go to bed. So it gives them a visual cue. This is really good as well if you've got little ones with special needs who often tantrum a lot. It's just a great way of incorporating them into what they're going to be doing. It makes them feel grown up. It makes them feel important. It makes them all about them, because kids are egocentric. It is all about them as far as they're concerned. They can't help it. So if you've got this little book that's got pictures of them doing all of the things in their bedtime routine and they're happy about it, and it ends with them in the morning happy because they've had a good night of sleep, and you keep giving them this message every day before they go to bed, it's a matter of time before they are happy to do their bedtime routine. They know what they're doing. It makes them feel grown up and important because they've read it. It's about them. And this is what you need to do to win your little ones roused. You need to make it about them. With our toddlers and our preschoolers, they are very much about asserting themselves and wanting to feel independent. But they don't have much choice. And imagine how you would feel in a world where you don't get to make any decisions for yourself. It would be annoying. And we are lucky as adults. We are sometimes limited, but we get to make choices for ourselves. Our toddlers don't get that, and it frustrates them. And this is when they rebel. So if you can help them to understand and to predict what's happening, they are much more likely to go along with it. And as I said, you've given them a book that's all about them. And in that way, it makes it easy to minimise tantrums, because you can say, well, if they are kicking off, they don't want to get in the bath. Or it says, well, in the book, you were happy to get in the bath. And if you don't get in the bath, you can't brush your teeth. And if you don't brush your teeth, you can't put your pyjamas on. And then we can't have a story and a cuddle. So it builds a picture, and you've built this picture for them already so they can see it in their heads. It appeals to their imagination. And the more you do it, the more you strengthen that neural pathway. This is scientific, I'm not making it up. But the more you strengthen that neural pathway to a calm, easy, relaxed bedtime, the easier it will get. It's all about being repetitive and consistent. Like I said, creating this little storybook doesn't need to be expensive. You can take pictures with your smartphone. You can print off the pictures for free. All you got to do is pay postage to package in. And it's really useful if you've got toddlers or preschoolers who are fighting bedtimes. I've used it at nap times. I haven't used this story, but we have used personal stories. I've worked in early years. We create personal stories for the little ones to help them to learn and develop, because it's all about them. Their world is all about them. They're egocentric. So if you can play to that and use their imagination to your advantage to help them relax and switch off and to know and understand what's happening next, you will see results. Right, I'm going to go. I need to have my Sunday dinner. I'm starving. But I hope anything that I've said to you has been really, really helpful. If you would like to stay in touch with me, if you would like to follow me when I go live, there's a notification somewhere in this live feed that you can click that tells you when I've gone live. You can join my Facebook group. And, I'm doing a toddler sleep workshop in South London. So if you're local to the South London area and you'd really like to take part in that workshop, you can get early bird tickets now 50% off. This offer runs out in January 1st. And then after that, it's back to normal price. The book title was The Rabbit Who Wants to Fall Asleep. There it is there. Can you see that? There we go. The Rabbit Who Wants to Fall Asleep. It's only $7.99. I got this on Amazon. I'm an Amazon Prime addict. Order it today, have it tomorrow for nap time and bedtime. Really, really good book. Like I said, really useful for those observant, quite sensitive little ones who sit back and watch what's going on and find it hard to switch off. It's really useful for them. Really useful for nap times as well. I'm off. Take care. Thank you for joining me, V. Can't even speak properly. I will see you all soon. Take care. Bye.